Hello, friends and family. This is Mom Mare, and today I have a very special reading partner. This is my dad. This is Richard Vernon Edwards
Junior.
Jr. And who is this right here?
This is Mimi. Evelou Geoffrion Edwards.
And who was she?
She was my mother.
What's your favorite thing that you remember about your mother?
The favorite thing I remember about my mother is she was a very religious person, and she would go to Mass almost every day.
Oh,
And she was in a study club where they studied the Catholic religion. And she was very famous for that.
and what was your favorite thing that she would always cook for you?
The thing that she would always cook for me that I just loved was okra.
Oh,
And I loved okra.
that was your favorite vegetable.
My favorite, okra is my favorite vegetable.
And what about when you used to bring those bullfrog legs home?
Well, when I bring those frog legs home, and Mama C would put them in the pot, and as she turned on the stove, those bullfrog legs would jump
Oh,
because they were still alive. When we caught the bullfrogs at night, and I drove back and put them in a pan and put it on the stove, turn on the stove, gonna cook those frog legs, and they jump.
wow. But not out of the pot. They never made it out of the pot. Well, you want to read some of Mimi's story?
Yes,
We're going to read the part about her mother. And who was her mother?
my mother was Emelou Coco.
And that was your...
That was my grandmother.
Big
So
Mama.
this goes all around. I'm the grandmother reading my grandmother's story. And today we're going to read about Poopaw's grandmother. Because Poopaw is what we call him in the family, right? So this is the story of Emelou Coco.
And you called her, what did you call your grandmother?
I called my grandmother Big Mama.
And you'll see why in a second. So here's the story about Mimi's mother, Emelou Coco. God selected the right person for me. Heredity is the reason for our health and our behavior. My mother, a granddaughter of Dominique Coco Jr., paved the way for a better life for us to follow. She was a Victorian daughter, but she did not become a mother until the late 19th century. She lived 39 years until the 20th century, so she saw many changes in her life. She accepted them graciously. I was her sixth child. Mimi was the sixth one. How many did she have, I think?
That's like your mother. Your mother was like the sixth child.
Oh, that's right. Mama C was the sixth child too. I was her sixth child, so in my memory, she was never young. However, she was ageless. She was a sweet, plump bundle of 200 pounds.
Big Mama.
Maybe a few pounds less. She was conscious of her size. Consequently, she would follow the Susan Crowcroft method of reducing. But the diet never seemed to help. Boy, this reminds me of somebody. I must take after Big Mama, Daddy. But the diet never seemed to help. Her weight never seemed to be a handicap. She was agile and active and very neat in appearance. She was a well-informed lady with a sophisticated instinct. She had an open mind, and one of her favorite expressions was, "Nothing surprises me."
Oh my goodness, Mimi used to say that.
That's because her mama said
I
that.
didn't know that.
She adapted to the times. She was the mistress of her house. She was a good businesswoman, a talent that she inherited from her father, who was a successful businessman. Your grandmother, and he's 91,
My Big Mama.
my great-grandmother, and I'm 69, she was, how was she just described? She was just described as a good businesswoman, mistress of her home, and successful. So women could be that, couldn't they?
Yeah.
People always think in the past that women just sat around and washed clothes and didn't do nothing. But not your grandmother, not my great grandmother. Okay, she was well informed with a sophisticated instinct. Oh, I read that part. My mother was born in Moreauville. So this is her still. We're reading about Big Mama. She was born in Moreauville, Louisiana, the daughter of Clara Bordelon and Bienvenue Coco. She was the second child in a family of 7 children. Namely, these are the 7 children. These are your aunts and uncles, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Your parents.
Uncle Lamar.
Yeah. Clara, Emmalou, Corinne, Louise, Lena, Lamar, and Wilmer. Wow. Mostly girls, huh? 2 boys and the rest were... Moreauville was a small community
It
located...
sounds like Lamar
Yeah.
Edwards.
That says, so Lamar's name doesn't just come from Lamar Joffrion. It comes from Lamar Bienvenue, what did I say?
Coco.
Lamar
Coco.
Bienvenue
Lamar Coco.
Coco.
And he's the one that married Aunt B? No.
Not Bienvenue.
Okay.
Ella, remember, Mary.
Okay.
He married Aunt Bienvenue.
Ain't Bienvenue. Okay, my mayor's gonna have to read more of the story to get the details. Moreauville was a small community located on the Bayou des Glaces in Avoyelles. Did I say it right? Avoyelles?
Avoyelles.
Avoyelles Parish.
Atchafalaya.
I'm so glad I'm taking this with Dad to help me with the pronunciation. Caleb? Okay. Their father, Bienvenue, was a well-to-do landowner, and he gave each one of his children a plantation and a home for a wedding present.
Wow.
Big Mama got a plantation,
Delmar Plantation.
and it was called Delmar Plantation. All 7 plantations joined each other and were located facing the Bayou des Glaces levee. This made the sisters and brothers continuous neighbors, and they continued to be one big happy family. A fence and a gate separated them. When my mother and her sisters reached the ripe old age for leaving home, they were sent off to school. Mother attended the Sacred Heart Academy located in Convent, Louisiana, an accredited girls' school run by the Sisters of the Sacred Heart. Convent was located on the Mississippi River between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. Waterways were the highways, and Mother and her sisters used this means of transportation to take them to the academy from their home in Moreauville. On the Bayou des Glaces, the steamboat would travel to Simmsport, and from there up the Atchafalaya River, north to Old River, and then down the Mississippi to Convent, 30 miles south of Baton Rouge. The girls would find themselves at the gate of the academy, and the sisters were waiting for their students with open arms. And we're going to pause and stop there for this episode of Readings of Mom Air with Pooh-Bah this time. Did we say why we were celebrating today?
91.
Pooh-Bah is 91.
I want to get these kids back in here.
Okay, come on, Leo. Leo, he's the only one
So
around
just think about it. Just to get to the school, they had to take
Sit
the
down.
river, right? Probably
Yep.
took a wagon to get to the boat. And I'm assuming they stayed at the school. They didn't go
Right.
back home the same
Right,
day.
they lived there.
They lived there. So it was like a boarding school.
Right.
But it wasn't college. This was what?
Well, it was probably high school.
High school. Okay.
All right, well,
Who do we
Well,
need?
press
William?
pause, press pause.